Hermosa gang, it's your girl Hermosa Victoria, back with a little bit of some of everything. So today I will be discussing my experience as a clinical social worker. I specifically will be talking about the truths behind a medical social worker, medical case manager. If you would like to stay tuned to what else I have in store to discuss about social work and my journey as a social worker, as a Black social worker at that, don't hesitate to like, comment, and then subscribe to this channel because my channel is going to grow. It's a growing channel, and I will be discussing a lot as far as what I do as a medical social worker, the different areas of social work that is within a hospital, and so forth. So thank you for watching, and continue to stay tuned if you would like to hear my truths behind being a medical social worker. So I've been in the field of social work for about 10 years. That's including my undergraduate studies all the way up to graduate studies. I started off at Baker College, which is a career college. I majored in human services, which is a program that was designed under a social worker. I had to do a lot of internships in that program, and I got a lot of exposure in that area. So just getting started, I'm now currently working in the field of medical social work. I'm a clinical social worker. So I would say my truths behind this career is rewarding. I'm 27 years old. I'm working in the field with doctors, PAs, nurses, nurse navigators. Like, it's a very interesting job, and I'm very grateful for this position that I am in. And I would like to not sit on my knowledge and my experience that God granted me. My goal is to get that information out. So the truth behind a medical social worker, there's money, the money bag. The money is there in social work, in medical social work. Medical social work. I believe it's money in social work overall. Our degree and program is underrated. We are the lowest paid. I don't want to say the lowest paid, but we do get lowballed a lot. And I can speak for a platform of social workers that agree. As a medical social worker, the positives, the truth behind that is that there's definitely money in the field. However, no, social work is not all about the money. 100% it's not. But however, me personally, my background, I come from an impoverished background. I grew up in the zip code 48214 in Detroit. If you know, you know. Don't have to go in detail. And I always wanted better for myself. I did not want to go into a field or career choice where I would still struggle living from paycheck to paycheck. So I decided to go into the medical field. Also because I've already worked in the medical field. Prior to me becoming a social worker, I was a medical transporter. So I transported the patients to and from their medical appointments within the hospital. So I used to push them by bed with their IV poles, the ventilator machines, all of that. And just having that exposure alone, I did not realize there were social workers in the hospital. So once I known that and I got that exposure, I decided to get a internship in grad school as a medical social worker, and I loved the experience ever since. So as a medical social worker, I mentioned before, I work with doctors, PAs, which are physician assistants, meaning they assist the doctors. A lot of times the doctors work at other hospitals and they're not always on campus, so they have assistants to kind of help write scripts and help us smooth out the stay for our patients. And they also help us with getting the patients into their home, nursing home, or if they need a home nurse or home care. Those doctors are those assistants, are very supportive. So working with that multiple disciplinary team, I work with pharmacists, cardiologists, nephrologists, like I said, physician assistants, nurses, physical therapists, occupational therapists. Like, I work with a lump sum of people, and you learn so much. There is not a day that go by and I don't learn anything new. Every day is a learning experience for me. And as a social worker, a new social worker, always have a handy dandy notebook. And it's so funny because it's the truth. You need a handy dandy notebook because I'm writing down either a contact number or just ways to maneuver throughout my job easier. I'm always writing things down in a notepad. I work with pharmacists. They kind of help break down the medications if you're not understanding. Because again, we're social workers, right? We don't always understand medical terminology because we just did not go into that area of study. So a lot of times the pharmacists and the nurses, they're able to break down terms you're not able to understand, My physical therapists and occupational therapists are my heart, pride, and joy because they help us get our patients home. They evaluate our patients. We need them to see the level of care the patient may need once they're discharged. As a medical social worker, you will definitely gain that clinical nursing medical experience in the hospital. And just to mention, a lot of our social workers, well, a lot of our hospitals have changed the role of social workers. So typically in the hospital as a social worker, you would just handle social issues. However, we are merging and we're now required to do some nursing things. So you do get that nursing exposure. So that is something to kind of put out there for those who, again, wanted to work in the hospital, wanted to do nursing, but the finances wasn't just there, or your grades wasn't just there. It's a good idea to go into medical social work. We always need a versatile social worker that have a history of nursing background because it's needed, and it's a very fun and rewarding field to be in. Another truth with working as a medical social worker is high caseload. As you guys know, I graduated during a pandemic. I landed a job within a pandemic at a hospital. So right now our medical staff are so overwhelmed, and it takes a toll on us, but at the same time it's rewarding because we're caring for patients that cannot see their family members, cannot speak to their family members at all times, because if you're bedridden, you're COVID or risk, the doctors and nurses are not always able to go in and out of COVID rooms because of the PPE. So a lot of family members can't talk to their loved ones. And then again, it's not that they can't talk to their loved ones, but sometimes if your loved one is really, really sick from COVID, they don't have the energy to be on the phone. Because I know even personally with my dad, when he was in hospital, I kind of was really lax on calling him so much because I know he needed his wind to breathe. So our caseloads right now is so high. Right now within our department, outside of the pandemic, you have a lot of people that are sick and ill, or a lot of people are just stressed out and burnt out, and they had to just take a leave and go find other jobs that were more convenient for them. So be prepared to have a high caseload. I believe the caseloads are manageable, honestly, if you prioritize. Me personally, I prioritize based off what patients that are being discharged today, what patients can go home today that have no barriers to their discharge. I prioritize those cases, and then I go on from there throughout the week. I notice with that method, I'm less stressed. It's a more smooth day. You're not going to always be able to get everything done at once. So it's very important as a social worker in the hospital right now, or in general overall, to prioritize your discharges. If a patient can go to the nursing home today, there's no holdups from the facility. There's no medical barriers for that patient. Try to work your best to get that patient out. And you will have to multitask. There's been times where I'm communicating on the computer with a nursing facility, and I'm also on the phone with a family member, and I'm also writing notes, like literally multitasking. Like I feel like an octopus. It's so hilarious. But be prepared to have high caseloads, especially during this pandemic. We're working as a team. We're trying to get the job done. So high caseloads is our reality, and it's not just in medical social work. I hear it's in all areas of social work. For me personally, I only can speak on medical, and the caseloads can be very, very challenging, but it's doable. We can get it done. Medical social worker, it is important to be a team player. There are going to be days where we have call-offs, and you're going to have to pick up the caseload of someone else, and you're going to have to follow a case that you didn't have on Monday. You're going to be so clueless, so lost, but it's important to be that support because we need each other as a whole. We're one representation of another. It's not a good idea to go into this field if you have problems with communicating with other people that are not within your circle, within your department, because you're going to be working with so many different people, and we're going to need each other at the end of the day. No one is perfect. There is drama in the workplace. There are rude comments made in the workplace, but I've learned to just push through that, because at the end of the day, and you're going to need that person again. You're going to run into that same nurse again, because nurses float from unit to unit. Don't think, oh, because you worked on that unit, you had a bad day with that nurse, you got a tool with the nurse, that you won't see that nurse on another unit. No, you're going to run into these nurses and doctors and physical therapists and physician assistants again, because guess what? We cover the entire hospital as a whole. So be a team player. And then the truth behind the team players, there's not always going to be a team player. You're going to have people that that half do their job. They do not follow the book. So just as a social worker and just being ethical as a social worker, keep that in mind, that you're not going to always be the team player. There's going to be people that are not being team players, and it's going to make it difficult to get the job done. But if you have a positive mindset and you kind of know what I'm telling you, like if you take what I'm telling you from this video and then apply it to your life, you'll do good at what you'll do good at your job. You'll do good at being a social worker if you take this information firsthand. I kind of wish I had someone to give me this information, which is why I'm on this YouTube platform, because it would have kind of helped me get through my job a little easier. But some things are learning experience. You have to go through it on your own. So yes, just know that not everyone is a team player, but don't take it personal. Just keep it moving, keep it pushing, and just keep the patient satisfaction in mind. It's always about the patient. It's never about your peers, your bad days you're having. Keep patient satisfaction in the back of your mind, and I guarantee you will be the best medical social worker there is. Another truth behind being a medical social worker is burnout. Burnout is in almost every field, but as a social worker, you kind of have to take on the life challenges, the traumas that others are going through, and sometimes you take it home, which is not a good thing to do. That can be discussed in another video. Never take work home with you, especially as a social worker. But yes, burnout is a real thing. You're, like I said, I feel like an octopus. So I'm reaching over here, I'm reaching over there, I'm working on this project, that project, this case, that case. You could be working on a case and then you'll get a call from a doctor like, hey, I need you to look into this case. Bam, you're distracted. Your focus is now on that patient B. So it can be overwhelming and draining. It's important to take that paid time off, take the time off, take days off, because burnout is real. You will be drained. It's important to incorporate self-care in your journey as a medical social worker. As you all know, the hospital does not shut down. We're there 24/7. We have coverage in every department on every day, including holidays. So burnout is definitely there. It's going to happen. And I had someone make a comment, like, I made a comment stating that I'm burnt out. I am. And someone was like, well, you're young. You're too young to be burnt out. I get it. I get it. Yes, I'm young to be burnt out. But just because I'm young does not mean I'm not carrying burdens outside of here. So don't let anyone belittle your stress level, because everyone's stress level is different. So yes, burnout is there. And as you all can see, I'm young and I'm burnt out. So it's always important to do self-care. Go shopping, go to the mall, eat that food, work out, buy things that you don't need. Whatever makes you happy, whatever puts you in a happy place, do it. I encourage you to do it because burnout is real. So I mentioned how burnout is real and how we take the burdens of others home with us, but we also deal with a lot of trauma in the hospital. 9 times out of 10, if you heard of any shootings within the local area of your hometown, or accidents or house fires, 9 times out of 10, if it was in the demographic area of the hospital you're working at, you're going to have exposure to that case. And it's one thing to hear it on the news, but it's another thing to actually have to visualize it, see it, and actually work through that case. So there's a lot of trauma within the hospital. You have accidents, you have accidental drug ingestions with minors. You have people that are dealing with mental illnesses such as schizophrenia, bipolar, anxiety. We see a lot, and it's sad to see people go through trying times, but for me it's rewarding to help them get through those trying times. So you will have a lot of exposure to trauma. Sometimes you will have to be put in an uncomfortable position to address those trauma situations. Because me personally, I have been to every school in the city of Detroit almost. Well, most. And I know a lot of people. So my biggest fear is having to open a trauma case that is connected to people I have history with. Because it's not always a good feeling for that person to know that there's someone that knows what's going on in their life personally. Social media is one thing. Yes, we paint a perfect picture on social media, but everyone know deep down inside we all are facing battles in home. So for me to have that exposure to someone I know, I'm like, Lord, please don't let this happen to me. And don't forget, as a social worker, you have the right to pass a case on if you know that person. And just to be ethical, it's important that you pass that case on to one of your peers if you can at the time, so that it can be addressed. So this is the end of my truths as a medical social worker. I had to cut it short because I'm having some technical errors. However, I still want to get this content out there. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to hear more about social workers and what we have to offer. Thank you.